to the Elusive Truth with Rich and Larry. Well, we're back after a long little hiatus of trying to get away from this crazy circus world we live in. So, as promised from the last podcast, I have Larry with me. Have a listen. What a show. So sit back, relax, as we fall gently into the rabbit hole.
Hello?
Mr. Larry.
Hey, Rich, how you doing?
Very good. And you, sir, it's been a while since we talked. And amazingly,
it sure has.
Amazingly enough, we're still alive. And unfortunately, the clown world is just more silly than the circus that we've ever known. So, but here we are. And amazing. I was just looking at the picture that I was sent to me with you with a red and a blue pill.
How do you like that? Jeannie said she was taking these big red pills, and I got this astaxanthin. It's like a strong vitamin type C. I said, I got a blue one. And the girls go, oh, no, is he talking Viagra?
Oh, see, that's what they would think.
I know. I said, no. So I held it in my hand, and I said, no, this isn't Viagra. I don't do recreational drugs.
It was just too funny because I was thinking, I thought you already took the pill. Which one are you going to take now? The blue and be like the sheep of the world?
I know. It was just too ironic that she pulled out a red one, and I said, I happen to have a blue one.
Yeah, see, that red pill is very enlightening, but wow, it comes with a heavy price, knowing what's going on. Unbelievable.
Well, mindset and frequency as we are.
Well, good. At least somebody is. But, because the rest of the world isn't. And they are fighting tooth and nail to just try to discredit everything, especially with Trump. I mean, they just will not let that go. The right side is showing their full cards, and they're just worthless, unbelievable communist, overthrow the United States type of people. They're not happy with their current situation, and looking forward, it looks more and more bleak for them at least. Here is a clip of the smoking gun testimony against Donald Trump on January 6th. Representative Kevin McCarthy told Trump staffers to make sure Trump didn't go to the Capitol on January 6th. Cassidy Hutchinson testifies about Trump's behavior on January 6th.
You returned to the White House in the motorcade after the president's speech. Where did you go?
When I returned to the White House, I walked upstairs towards the Chief of Staff's office, and I noticed Mr. Renato lingering outside of the office. And once we had made eye contact, he quickly waved me to go into his office, which was just across the hall from mine. When I went in, he shut the door, and I noticed Bobby Engel, who is the head of Mr. Trump's security detail, sitting in a chair, just looking somewhat discombobulated and a little lost. I looked at Tony, and he had said, "Did you effing hear what happened in the Beast?" I said, "No, Tony, I just got back. What happened?" Tony proceeded to tell me that when the president got in the Beast, he was under the impression from Mr. Meadows that the off-the-record movement to the Capitol was still possible and likely to happen, but that Bobby had more information. So once the president had gotten into the vehicle with Bobby, he thought that they were going up to the Capitol, and when Bobby had relayed to him, we don't have the assets to do it, it's not secure, we're going back to the West Wing, the president had a very angry response to that. Tony described him as being irate. The president said something to the effect of, "I'm the effing president, take me up to the Capitol now." To which Bobby responded, "Sir, we have to go back to the West Wing." The president reached up towards the front of the vehicle to grab at the steering wheel. Mr. Engel grabbed his arm, said, "Sir, you need to take your hand off the steering wheel. We're going back to the West Wing. We're not going to the Capitol." Mr. Trump then used his free hand to lunge towards Bobby Engel. And when Mr. Renato had recounted this story to me, he had motioned towards his clavicles.
And another weird thing A source close to the Secret Service tells me both Bobby Engel and the lead agent and the presidential limousine SUV driver are prepared to testify under oath that neither man was assaulted and that Mr. Trump never lunged for the steering wheel. Unbelievable. Who are you going to believe?
Well, there's an old saying, we're going to make them eat their own words. They're trying to put everything that they're doing into our box and say, oh, this is what Trump does. This is what the left, right does, everything. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And it's going to be so ironic when they said, oh, they need to be prosecuted for these crimes. And this is crimes against humanity. Oh, my God, they're just laying out the groundwork for what they're doing.
Exactly. I believe that 100% now. If you would have told me that 10 years ago, I'd have said, yeah, you're a conspiracy theorist and you need to go back to your mama's basement and stay there. But apparently...
Well, I did tell you years ago that JFK, the original JFK, I don't know, maybe I didn't tell you that I think it wasn't even him, and he's been off fighting this whole thing since the 60s, but that might have been too much conspiracy.
Well, in the world that I grew up in high school, that would have been a conspiracy theory. But the world we live in today, I am sure it's exactly what's happening and what did happen, because we've been manipulated and lied to over and over and over to their plan, their submission to try to get to this new world order. No money, everything's digital. They can control everything. They can shut off your bank accounts for, any opposition that you might have against them. And it's just very apparent. We know that Joe Potato, I'm surprised he lasted this long. And then you got Kamala, which is even going to be worse. So it's just, we still have a ways to go before.
Well, let me tell you something refreshing in a real brief little sense. Well, going back to what you're saying, we know what, 2001 was all about with George Herbert Walker Bush putting his son in there and being behind all that. You know what I mean?
Right.
So when you said it's been going on, yeah, from Kennedy, they were about to start fixing things like they're fixing right now in 2022. That was all supposed to take place 22 years ago or 21 years ago, and they kicked in the 9/11 diversion, and there was so much gold. There was stored gold in those buildings, and a lot of stuff, trillions of dollars missing. There was a lot of things.
That brings up this little gem from the past about how this millions or trillions of dollars are missing.
A new question this evening about your money, hundreds of millions in taxpayer dollars, and about how the Pentagon is keeping track of its spending. An independent audit finding the Pentagon's accounting failed to provide a paper trail for hundreds of millions in your money in construction projects. Mary Bruce on the Hill tonight, tracking your money.
Tonight, questions about how the Pentagon is keeping track of hundreds of millions of taxpayer dollars.
9 supply chains, 2,300 weapon systems, and about 5 million items.
At issue, expense reports for construction projects. $384 million spent without the proper receipts. Another $465 million put in the wrong column, labeled as ongoing projects that had actually been completed. The Defense Logistics Agency admits their failure to track funding, but says none of the money is actually missing or misspent. The president today went after Democrats over military funding.
They don't want to give the money to the military where we need it. Without the military, we might not be here.
So let's get to Mary Bruce. She's live up on the Hill tonight. And Mary, you're getting reaction from your sources from both sides of the aisle tonight?
David, a Democratic senator today called these revelations completely unacceptable, while a top Republican believes, quote, keeping track of people's money may not be in the Pentagon's DNA.
Hundreds of millions, try 21 trillion since 1998. This report grossly underestimated the accounting lawlessness. With the recent rule changes under the infamous guise of national security, the American taxpayer will never know how many more trillions will go unaccounted for. $2.3 trillion was missing in the budget, wherever they came up with that crazy number, and it all ties back to Halliburton, Bush, and the reason why the 9/11 took place is because the accounting office was in the towers that was doing this audit of trying to figure out where the $2.3 trillion went.
Oh yeah, and then they have the nerve to put Dick Cheney's daughter in the Senate. This is like just so bizarre.
As we open our eyes and look at the truth, we do start seeing a pattern. It's all falling into place, and what we once believed that could not happen is happened. I mean, there was a time when Hillary Clinton was, the most famous female politician in the United States, and I guess a lot of people loved her. Same with Bill Clinton. I mean, they thought that guy couldn't do any wrong.
In August 2016, Donald Trump called for a special investigation of the Clinton family's charity known as the Bill, Hillary, and Chelsea Clinton Foundation. Trump accused them of using the charity to provide political influence in exchange for financial donations. In fact, this is not the first time that the Clinton Foundation has been accused of similar impropriety. So we wanted to know, what exactly is the Clinton Foundation and what is the controversy surrounding it? The foundation was originally started around 1997 by Bill Clinton in an effort to raise money to build a presidential library. Since then, it's come to raise an estimated $2 billion in total, which is used to fund philanthropic efforts by the foundation itself. It's important to note that the charity rarely disperses grants to other people or organizations, instead preferring to fund its own humanitarian efforts. And while it may seem suspicious to pay your own staff to accomplish humanitarian goals, multiple charity watchdogs have cleared the organization of any misappropriation of funds. Charity Navigator gave the Clinton Foundation 4 out of 4 stars, and Charity Watch gave the group an A for spending the majority of its funds on actual charitable missions. According to the foundation itself, key humanitarian goals include economic development, climate change, health and wellness, and increased participation of girls and women. There's also a group called the Clinton Global Initiative, which is effectively a collection of super powerful people like U2 frontman Bono, the COO of Facebook Sheryl Sandberg, Bill Gates, and many others coming together to propose solutions to global problems. These solutions often include massive donations. But the foundation has been criticized for some of its funding methods. When rebuilding Haiti following a natural disaster in 2010, the Clinton Foundation used the relief effort to help public branding, but many accused the organization of only providing contracts to those who had made significant donations to the foundation. One example saw a construction contract automatically given to a company owned by major donor Warren Buffett instead of being selected through a standard UN bidding process. Ultimately, the construction work turned out to be inadequate for relief efforts. The sources of the Clinton Foundation's donations themselves have long been suspect by critics and allies alike. The fact that Bill Clinton is a former president and that Hillary Clinton was Secretary of State and may soon become president herself means that there's plenty of room for conflicts of interest. When Hillary Clinton accepted the position of Secretary of State, the foundation stopped accepting donations from foreign governments and conflicting private interests. However, as soon as her tenure ended, millions poured into the foundation from countries like Saudi Arabia, largely from private donors closely tied to the Saudi royal family. In fact, according to an investigation by the Associated Press, of the 154 people from private interests who met with or spoke to Clinton while she was Secretary of State, 85 of them ended up donating large amounts of money to the foundation immediately after she left the position. In total, those 85 donors contributed more than $150 million. Additionally, according to The Intercept, donors from Saudi Arabia gave between $10 million and $25 million, along with another $1 to $5 million coming from Qatar, the United Arab Emirates, and Brunei. All of these countries have been accused of massive human rights violations with very little reaction from the U.S. government. The intersection of Hillary Clinton as Secretary of State and potential president, while also accepting donations from people and governments seeking to influence U.S. policy, clearly raises suspicions. Although the foundation has said that it's incorrect to suggest that donors with political motives are not also interested in philanthropy, it seems like a weak assurance. It's unlikely that Saudi Arabia is interested in promoting female empowerment, which is one of the Clinton Foundation's primary goals. Still, as with most of the scandals surrounding Hillary Clinton, although on the outside there's an appearance of impropriety, once a closer look is taken, there's little proof to support those claims. As far as any investigations have publicly uncovered, the Clinton Foundation has not yet been found to have done anything illegal.
Right.
And now, as time has gone by, all these rumors and these talkings about what really took place in Haiti and what was that? They have a world fund that they were trying to scam money out of. I mean, and then the deaths following close relatives or associates of them are dying.
Oh, my God. I think the list is up in the 20s or 30s of people that died around them that were associated with the Clintons.
But that's what I mean. It's the same thing that when growing up and you mentioned UFO, oh, you're a crackpot and you keep it up, we're sending you to the loony bin, where now you got the United States military and government saying, yep, there's stuff out there, folks. I mean, wow, what a reversal of what's going on. And I believe they have proved that there was a election fraud in Arizona, at least, and I'm sure they've proven it in Georgia and Wisconsin, but nothing is coming from that.
What are you talking about? I just heard a lib say that the 2020 election was the fairest, most secure election in U.S. history.
Yeah, and one of the latest headlines is that it says 2/3 of Americans believe Trump is guilty of trying to overturn the election results.
What a joke! When this insurrection's the worst thing that ever happened to the U.S.
You know, the worst thing that happened is that how much money it's costing the American taxpayer of over and over and over of this January 6th BS, these trials, these witch hunts. I have to say it that way. It's ridiculous. They think, a small minority think that they're right up the alley, and the rest of the world is move on. This is BS. I mean, we don't even want. We could spend a whole hour talking about that, getting down to the nitty gritty facts.
Oh,
but
the small minority thinks in their little simple mind that everyone thinks like them.
Well, they do, or we all need to think that way, or their alternative is violence and lock us up and re-educate us. I mean, that's what they really think. It just blows my mind away that.
Well, it's so sad that everything that has been perpetuated against humanity, and if I have to get away from the politics and say the worst thing of all, one of the things that might clean this up, all they'd have to do is come out with showing the evil side of what's happened in these deep underground bases, and show the children and show the adrenochrome. If they kick off this whole disclosure with that, that would be an eye-opener.
And that will come out. I know it will. But
I don't know how this is going to roll out, Rich.
Well, we know that the evil is that they're on their last straws, and they're pulling every string possible to try to last one attempt to keep going on with their agenda. And it's the silent majority that is working against them. You know what I mean? And that's what their issue is that there is too many good people, especially outside of the cities. Good luck trying to change our minds. For example, this COVID stuff is unbelievably overblown, and now people are using it to their advantage. There's a lot of people.
More and more doctors are coming out saying that the vaccine was poison. You couldn't have said that 2 years ago.
Right, but what I'm trying to say now is that now we're getting all the idiots are saying, oh, but it's COVID, so I need the 5 days off, or my neighbor's got COVID, so I need to get tested. And it goes, what are you talking about? COVID was bullshit. COVID was a flu-like symptom that it affected a lot of elderly and overweight people in the beginning. But with all the vaccinations and jabs that they made all these people get into, now we have this sudden adult syndrome, and you have people in their 30s with heart attacks and blood clots. And don't forget about Mr. Justin Bieber. I mean,
and there's more unknown things. There's probably 100 different elements that they mixed into so many of these they can activate at any time.
Right. And I believe that's ridiculous. And the people that took it, I feel sorry for you. You got duped. And the people that haven't.
They got duped by who? Who told them to take it? Some guy on TV? Did they ever ask their doctor what's in there?
No. Well, you got Mr. Fauci there still doing his job. You still got Biden trying to push his agenda, which he doesn't even know where he is right now.
They're pushing him for kids 6 months.
They still are. And the CDC is coming out and approving vaccinations left and right. And it's they are the.
This is worse than a clown show, Rich.
Scientists say there has been an a sharp rise in unexplained deaths during the pandemic, deaths that are not listed as COVID-related. One Rice University researcher has now been analyzing the data and looking into the cause. Here's Fox 26's Chelsea Edwards.
They're calling it a slow-burning background crisis.
The numbers really add up to show that many more people have died during the pandemic than you would have expected in a normal year. And that is on top of the number of people who died of COVID who also had those preconditions.
Rice University researcher John Mulligan crunched the CDC's numbers on deaths by diseases like diabetes, heart disease, and cancer over the past year and a half. He put them in an online dashboard. The blue is the number of deaths expected based on averages before the spread of COVID-19. The orange shows the large spikes in those numbers during the pandemic, deaths that aren't technically COVID-related, but can't seem to be explained.
As the months went on, those numbers began to climb.
Studies say this excess mortality is made up of 20 to 36% of deaths that would not have happened pre-pandemic, with some of the most drastic losses attributed to Alzheimer's.
Especially early in the pandemic, there were large spikes in nearly every single state in the country.
Researchers have tossed out theories on how the spikes may be linked to COVID. Maybe people have fallen behind on care, or overwhelmed hospitals aren't testing bodies. Or in the case of an Alzheimer's patient who recovered from COVID,
he or she loses her sense of smell and taste, and then they start to eat less. A few weeks later, a month later, maybe they die. Do you call that COVID?
Mulligan doesn't want the data to devalue the lives of those with pre-existing conditions. He says instead, it proves the need to invest in public health to protect the most vulnerable.
We could ask ourselves, is what we've come to accept as the normal level of mortality in the United States acceptable? And the implicit answer to their question is no.
With excess mortality on the rise again, researchers say this background burn is proof that numbers of COVID-related deaths are worse than they look. In Houston, Chelsea Edwards, Fox 26 News.
Whatever you do, don't blame this on the vaccinations, or the FBI will come and get you. It is. We talked about it before on a podcast, but at one time, the FBI was kind of respected for a Federal Bureau investigation, the law of the land, the law of the United States. And they're the second biggest clown show in the world besides the CIA and everybody changing all this. It really is. And,
yeah.
I mean, it's amazing how people flip-flop back and forth. And what still remains the same is that we have high gas prices, high unemployment, and it's going to get worse if they keep talking about recession.
We're in a recession.
They keep pushing all the negative.
Can you have hyperinflation and a recession at the same time? When the markets crash, you think they're going to crash soon?
They'll never crash. When companies make billions of dollars and they say they crashed, they crashed because they're not making any more right this minute. Really?
Oh, I don't know, Rich. You say they'll never crash because of the Fed just keeps pumping trillions to their cronies, right?
Well, remember, the Fed isn't a business. Well, I guess it is. It's a business of laundering.
Yeah. Yes, the Fed is owned by the Rothschilds. They have nothing to do with our federal government. They're part of the World Bank.
Right. The Bilderbergers and all that and crazy.
And we're losing the U.S. dollar as the world's reserve currency. It used to have strength. Have you heard of the BRICS nations? BRICS is B is Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. Very powerful countries. A lot of population there, right? Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. Okay.
Uh-huh.
They broke away from the U.S. dollar as their reserve currency. India is the most populated country. Well, maybe China is and India. And then you got all Brazil for South America. You got Russia. That's a powerful organization. They broke away from the U.S. dollar as the world's reserve currency. We're in for some major changes.
Well, see, again, that's all BS. Let them do whatever they want. We don't care about those, except India, which I don't believe, because India, they still need the U.S. to keep going on with their agendas. There's too much intertanglement between our countries there. But I believe Brazil and where was those places?
Brazil, Russia,
Nicaragua,
India, China, and South Africa.
Some of those South American countries, that we've been having issues with, or anti-American, Cuba, places like that. But unfortunately, the American dollar, Biden has pooped out trillions and trillions of these notes. That's not going anywhere. I'm telling you right now.
I know, but pretty soon, right now, all oil transactions the Rockefellers had set up has to be bought and sold in dollars. So these Iranian, Iraqi countries, their currencies are worth nothing because they just want to collect dollars, and that's what they do.
Right.
But it's changing right now.
And let it change. I say that. All we need to do is we need to get a person in charge that is pro-American, pro-United States, pro-Constitution, and they'll turn that gas back on from the pipeline, and within a year or two, we'll be back to being self-sufficient once again, and we don't care about those other people. Let them fight and do their stuff. And that's what's going to happen, because the world is going to become so unstable, especially right now with Joe Potato running everything. The world is crazier than ever, because
it is.
Everybody's doing their own thing, and no one's fearful of anything. Look at Russia. Look at the Ukraine. What's going on there? I mean, I thought Ukraine was winning, and this war was almost over.
Has reported that Russia says it withdrew some Black Sea troops to help grain exports. I saw an earlier line coming out of the TASS news agency saying about enabling 7 tons of grain to leave a port in southern Ukraine. What's the latest here? What can you tell us?
Well, I think we also need to make sure we remember that what Russia says and does is usually very different. What the Ukrainian army is saying, that Russia is leaving that island because they have had come under shelling from the Ukrainian military. But what we do know is that there is widespread reporting that Russia is actually stealing Ukrainian grain, taking it to the Black Sea, and shipping it off to what Russia deems, quote, friendly countries, using these sky-high prices due to Russia's invasions of Ukraine, which, of course, Ukraine is considered the breadbasket, especially for European buyers, and selling that as their own. This has been a hot topic, not just here at NATO, but also at the G7 summit in the Bavarian Alps, because, of course, it is exacerbating this war in Ukraine, the prices of what we are seeing in grain. And I spoke to the National Security Council's John Kirby yesterday, and what the Admiral said to me is to get grain out by the Black Sea is going to take a very long time. They've been able to get some Ukrainian grain out via rail, but to get that Black Sea out and have Ukraine go back to shipping via seaborne is going to be incredibly difficult, because Russia really controls that area.
Yeah, they're going to surrender pretty soon.
And then they start trying to get these other countries with NATO, like Switzerland and
Finland, are going to join.
Right, and even Putin, I guess, this morning or yesterday came out and said that's fine. No, I don't mind that, but obviously you can't put the Ukraine with the NATO or.
Oh, yeah, I know, and I heard Putin say, if there's going to be a World War III, I'll tell you where it's going to start. We will take out London first.
Tonight, responding to Russia's invasion of Ukraine, involving more than 100,000 Russian troops, NATO is set to put a force of 300,000 on high alert, an unprecedented escalation, 7 times the current number. As a Roman general once said, if you want peace, prepare for war.
This constitutes the biggest overhaul of our collective defense and deterrence since the Cold War.
But the West's response to Ukraine has Russia reacting, a kind of geopolitical tit for tat. NATO member Lithuania now openly threatened by the Kremlin for enforcing sanctions on supplies to a Russian enclave, Kaliningrad.
Is your view that the best form of defence
is offense.
We are not offensive country. We don't want to attack anybody. But of course, we understand very much those threats which are coming. And probably nobody could understand the threats from Russia better than we.
Is this a fight for democracy?
It is the fight for democracy. And this is not a fight what is happening now in Ukraine. This is not the fight of one country against other country. We have to stop Vladimir Putin and Russia in Ukraine. Otherwise, there will be continuation of this aggression.
The US has a lot invested in this tense standoff. 100,000 American troops are stationed in Europe, preparing for a shift in posture. This week, leaders, including President Biden, meeting in the Spanish capital, will update NATO's strategy. Called the strategic concept, the last one described Russia as a potential partner. This time it will say explicitly, Russia is a threat, an unmistakable message from here in Madrid to Moscow. Moscow claims it's not surprised.
This month, NATO will meet in Madrid and it will publish its new strategic concept.
Yes.
The first in a decade.
Naming Russia a direct threat.
This was the Kremlin spokesman speaking to me last week, repeating Russia's accusation that NATO has always been an offensive, not defensive organization.
It was tailored as a gun.
It's a message the Kremlin is telling the Russian people every day. This government-funded Moscow exhibition is called NATO Catalogue of Cruelty.
NATO, from the day of its formation to present day, constantly shows kind of duplicity, like kind of kind of major difference between its peaceful rhetoric and actual policy.
Every NATO controversy is on display. President Putin's early interest in Russia joining NATO is brushed over. The exhibition ends on Ukraine.
Here we have anti-tank missile containers made in UK. For years now, NATO has been providing Ukrainian military with weapons, equipment, means of communication, and basically nurturing and pumping Ukrainian military machine.
This exhibition looks like a justification for Russia's actions in Ukraine in the past few months.
Maybe it looks like it, but what we are trying to do here, what we are trying to, I don't want to say to make people do, but what we're trying to guide people into is that people think with their own heads.
NATO and Russia sizing each other up in ways not seen for a generation. Both sides saying it has no other option.
Right. But see, here's the thing.
That's all empty rhetoric.
Right. But it skirts on the premise, though, of some movies that you and I have watched of recent by David Wilcox and David Icke, right? These crazy movies. Yep. Well, that one with David Wilcox, he reports that Iraq, Libya, Syria, Lebanon, Iran, and North Korea and China, those are the 7 factors that are the last holdouts, and that's what's going to be where World War III is coming into play. And if you look at all those places there, we have issues.
Yeah. Well, and you didn't throw Israel into the mix.
Well, Israel is always in the mix, and Palestine, but there's such a small little potato part of this that the bigger picture is this world realignment or the agenda of the New World Order, as they keep trying to say and disprove, but it keeps coming back. And really, it's mind-boggling. And the only thing to get away from this is to turn off the news and walk away and live your life as harmonious and with much love as possible, that you actually feel good about things again. Until you see a couple
you're talking.
Then you walk down the street and then you see these jerk-offs still wearing a mask in their car by themselves, and then again, now that COVID, I can't come to work because my neighbor has COVID, or my wife's worker got tested positive for COVID, so I don't think I should come to work for 5 days. And I mean, really, people, this is just ridiculous. Once we get back into their mentalities of like we had in the 50s, where you rolled up your sleeves and actually put some work into it, how we got through World War II and all that, you know what I mean? We came together and we we produced everything, and we were unified, and we were unstoppable. And now we're to this point that everybody is me, and don't hurt my feelings, and give me my internet. And I'm so persuaded by social media that runs my life, but not real life.
And they sit there and play video games and watch TikTok all day.
And there's a time and place for that. I like video games too, but I don't play it 24/7. I don't even use TikTok. I don't use any of that. The most I use is YouTube and some Rumble. Other than that.
Well, you're on the right page where this is going to, though. We cannot. The cabal just perpetuates division and hatred, and they love that. And so we got to change by being open and loving. And here we're just getting through Pride Month right now. And they're also they're proud of their sexual preference. I don't care what their preference is. What do you got to be proud of it for? Well, don't bring it out of the bedroom. Just keep it there.
I saw a clip from 1990 of a gay pride parade in New York City. And they were fully dressed, walking down the street, holding hands, and they had a couple rainbow flags and a couple balloons, but very peaceful and, not a big deal. And then they showed what happened, I guess, last week with the gay pride, where you got people wearing masks with their dongs hanging out, swinging in the breeze.
You mean they cover their face so they don't know who it is?
They put like a Bugs Bunny mask on, and they're walking down the street.
Oh, my God, and they're walking around exposing themselves?
Yes, and there's children along the parade route, and this just totally did a 180. And like I said, I don't care if you're gay. I don't care. That's your life. You get to do what you want, and it doesn't affect me. Most doesn't make you bad. It doesn't make you evil. But this new norm that everybody must be tolerant, and we must have this gay flag stuff shoved down our throats, and this whole thing about using pronouns and he, she, this, them, really, it's just, you guys are just off your rockers.
Well, we made it through Pride Month today.
Well, we got one more. This is last day. Last day.
That's the only reason I brought it up. It's just all part of the division.
Yeah, but they'll come back out and they'll do another one. I mean, it's ridiculous. The whole thing.
They've tried it with race, with religion, divide.
Well, the thing is that it's dividing some people, but the majority of us are sticking strong to our guts. Again, we want to be left alone. We want to work. We want to play. We want to be happy, and we don't want to have all the strife. This world that we live is short enough, but to have to go through this over and over and over again, it's nuts. Absolutely nuts. And again, we can see that as we get closer to the elections coming up here, they push more and more madness. The Democrats, that is.
Let me tell you something that I believe. You don't have to believe me, but I've had some good intel, enough that I could surmise what's about to happen. And this might blow you away, Rich. I'd love to tell you. There is not going to be any midterm elections in 2022. You know why?
Why?
Because Trump's coming back in. All 50 states are going to decertify, and he's going to say, you know what? Let's cancel these midterms, and we're going to have an all-new, open, fair election for president, Senate, and Congress. That's what's going to happen, my friend. He'll say 90 days out, we'll have an election. So let's say he comes in July, August, September, October. Maybe November 3rd will be the day again, but it is not going to be normal.
Well, I can believe that because nothing's normal these days. And it'd be so nice if that spark of goodness, that ray of hope for humanity comes out, because the consequences is there's going to be more deaths. There's going to be more people suffering. Do you know what I mean? We're supposed to be coming out of this information realm into the realm of love take care of thyself and take care of thy neighbor and walk amongst the peace, right? I mean, there's no reason we have to have any of that.
We're headed there, believe it or not. There's going to be an event coming up, and I don't know how they're going to disclose this, but this has been a 20-year plan to get us to this point, and it is going to be accomplished. That's all I can do is just hope and love and pray that this is where we're at right now. This is where we need to be, and we're there. We're there. The sad part is, I think we're going to get hit with some really good frequencies that enlighten all of us that are already on the right frequency to receive them. But a lot of the evil and the bad guys aren't going to get hit on this one. It's almost going to be like a tribulation, where the good get reinforced and the bad just won't.
The only thing I can say that's really changed my mind is that Renegade, the life story of David Icke, and David Wilcox's movie really put a positive spin in my heart. And regardless of what happens with the elections and the world new order and all this craziness, this enlightenment, this realm of love has put everything else aside, and that's not my concern. My concern is be true to thyself, love thy neighbor, take care of each other. When you have love in your heart, everything else fades away. And they they push the opposite. They want that violence. They want that negativity. I mean, look at all the crazy stuff that's going on. The Supreme Court all of a sudden comes out with some crazy rulings, first helping with the Second Amendment, and then Roe versus Wade, and the uproar of the people that are so against that. It blows my mind away.
The court's ruling is reverberating far beyond the country's borders. CBS's Ian Lee is in our London bureau with the international reaction. Ian.
Adriana, the court's ruling made the front pages despite the UK's own current political turmoil, underscoring the significance of the decision. When the Supreme Court struck down Roe versus Wade, the whole world was watching and reacted. In Paris, several dozen protesters took to the streets in solidarity. French President Emmanuel Macron tweeted, "Abortion is a fundamental right for all women. It must be protected." Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau also took to social media saying, "The news coming out of the United States is horrific. No government, politician, or man should tell a woman what she can and cannot do with her body." British Prime Minister Boris Johnson also condemned the decision.
Clearly, it has massive impacts on people's thinking around the world. It's a very important decision. I've got to tell you, I think it's a big step backwards.
The overturning of Roe comes as many countries have eased restrictions on abortions in recent years, including overwhelmingly Catholic Ireland, Mexico, and Colombia. But the Vatican praised yesterday's decision, saying, "By choosing life, our responsibility for the future of humanity is at stake." According to the Center for Reproductive Rights, the United States now joins just 2 other countries who have restricted abortion in the 21st century. Compare that to roughly 50 countries over the past decades who've made getting an abortion easier for women. Adriana?
We could go into some of the Supreme Court decisions that were made and everything where we're heading, but we got to get back to our Constitution and the rights of humans, and not be so political.
Well, again, just like I think it was John F. Kennedy said, don't rely on your government, right? Seriously, when I grew up, I was like, oh, Americans, the government, I will, I love it, and whatever they say, I will do blindly because I just been fooled. And now look at it, what they ever. Right. How things have changed so much. As a Republican and looking at Democrats, yeah, you're a Democrat and you have some good valid points and some bad points, just like Republicans, the same way. unfortunately, the Democrats have turned such a 180 that they're not even Democratic. They're demonic.
No, they went so far left, was like a middle of the road Democrat. He would be so far on the right side from where the Democrats have shifted.
Again, I believe that we're at this point because of the awakening and the knowledge that we do have, that we can actually see what's going on.
Well, yep, and when more and more truth bombs start hitting the people to wake up to all the lies that have been perpetuated on us our whole life.
Unfortunately, it's going to be tough for a lot of people to swallow that pill. It just they're going to be in so disbelief.
Yes, it will be, especially for people like 65 years and older.
Even the young people, they have nothing. Look at them. They know that at $18 an hour, they can't afford apartments. They can't afford the life. Do you know what I mean? I can see exactly their frustration, the unwillingness of the government to, I guess, acknowledge their plight. So it does look bleak, and who knows?
Yes. Well, Rich, let me tell you, I'm going to be talking with my Arizona guy today because we planned on talking tonight. You know, I'll have some more info for you tomorrow, but he let on one thing to me that I got to tell you, and if it comes true, you're going to be like, wow, Gary, maybe your guy does have some connection somewhere in order to tell you this. But you may blow me away and say, no way is this happening. But he told me, wait till you find out real soon. Marilyn Monroe's death was staged. And I said, oh, yeah, what did that have to do with anything? He goes, she knew way too much about Hollywood's pedophiles back then.
Oh, yeah.
So
I believe that.
Maybe she knew they were coming for her. And the fact that if she's been in hiding in like witness protection or whatever and starts speaking now, it's going to make us wonder about whether Michael Jackson's doctor really OD'd him. And all these other lies are going to start coming out. We're going to start running into people that we thought, not well, we're running into them, but they'll be out there that we thought had passed away many years ago. I think the only way out to snitch was to stage their deaths. Now, this is just something that does telling me, but it could very well be true.
I'm sure there are some cases of this craziness. Again, because we're not there, we weren't there, so it's hard for us to verify anything. Again, everything's been told to us has pretty much been a lie, and it's been towards some sort of agenda that's being played out against humanity.
And at least we're a couple steps ahead because we're prepared for the truth, and we know about so much of the lies already.
Right.
You know, so we're gonna have to help all those whose heads start exploding because they idolized so much stuff that was wrong.
Well, it's going to be interesting to see how the rest of this plays out, and again, I believe in good, so the evil will not prevail. It would just have to go through a lot of hard work, I guess, to get there.
That's a fact, Rich. You got that.
But anyway, it's been a while since we had a chat, and it's nice to know that a lot of things are still the exact same way. And then, of course, there's some new interesting events coming up on the horizon. So,
hey, we gotta get up to the ranch here. Let me check the moon phases coming up and find out when the darkest nights are.
Yes, absolutely. Well, my friend,
we got to get up there, even if it's just for one night sky watch.
Oh yeah, absolutely. We need to. I want to.
I do too.
We got a short summer here, and we got to make the most of it because fall is going to be nut town here.
Yeah, we don't even want to talk about this upcoming fire season.
Yes, absolutely. Well, not even that, but just the political realm. Humanity is just, everything is up in the air, and it's almost a free for all. So anyway, my friend.
Rich, I better let you go here and go check and see if I have anything to do today. If not, I might punch out early. Oh, great. I look forward to seeing you.
All right, man. Well, you take care. It was nice chatting to you again, and we'll be with you soon.
Keep the vibes high, my friend.
Yes, you take care.
Okay, Rich. Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Check. What's going on? That connection was horrible. I think it's something in my side.